It's good news for Iowa corn producers. More on that at 6. The Wells Dairy is continuing its recall of ice cream products, but state health officials say there's nothing to worry about. We'll have more on that as well. And we'll show you the newest way the Iowa Lottery is trying to entice you to buy lottery tickets. Holidays, news, weather, and sports coming up in 30 minutes.
The official Senate Intelligence Committee report on the Iran-Contra affair is being released tonight. And Ferdinand Marcos did try to return to power in the Philippines.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. One of the persistent questions of the Iran-Contra affair has been, where did the money go? The profits from the Iranian arms sale that reportedly were diverted to the Contras. Tonight, the Senate Intelligence Committee is preparing to release its official report on its investigation, and it does contain some fresh information on this money trail. This report, however, does not reflect the testimony of Admiral Poindexter or Colonel North because they took the Fifth Amendment. However, as NBC's John Dancy reports now, the report does make it clear that there is still a great deal more to learn about the White House role.
Tom, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator David Boren of Oklahoma, revealed this afternoon that the committee has now traced some of the Iranian arms sales money to a bank account in the Cayman Islands, but the committee has not yet been able to determine whether that money actually went on to the Nicaraguan Contras. Senators familiar with the final draft of the report say it basically expands on a first draft seen by NBC News. And here is the way that first draft dealt with some of the key players. The president. The report makes it clear he knew of and approved every significant step of the Iran deal. The report is inconclusive whether he knew of the diversion of funds to the Contras. The hostages. They quickly became paramount in the dealing. According to the report, the talks with Iran began as an attempt to improve relations, but by January 1986, they had become almost exclusively a deal to trade arms for hostages. The CIA. The intelligence agency supplied a plane for the second shipment, consisting of Hawk missiles, supplied it without written authorization. After January 17, 1986, when the president formally authorized the shipments in writing, the CIA took a bigger hand in shipping weapons and supplying intelligence to Iran as a sign of good faith. The CIA also made all arrangements for the flow of money to and from Iran. Oliver North. The report shows Lieutenant Colonel North wrote a memo believed directed to his boss, National Security Advisor John Poindexter. The memo suggesting charging Iran $17 million for Hawk missile parts, but repaying the Pentagon less than $4 million. The North memo suggests $12 million could be used to aid the Nicaraguan Contras. The report draws no conclusions on whether North actually diverted funds to the Contras. According to the report, as news of the secret dealings leaked out, North changed the way he characterized the initial arms sale, each time distancing the president from it. Whereas in April 1986, North wrote that the shipments were undertaken with the endorsement of the U.S. government, 7 months later, on November 17th, North wrote that the U.S. acquiesced in the shipment. Then, just 3 days after that, on the advice of former National Security Advisor McFarlane, North said the shipments were undertaken despite our objections. Israel. The report says Israel brought the idea to the U.S., and every time the United States started to lose interest, it was the Israelis who revived the negotiations. The Israelis say the U.S. came to them.
I don't think...
The chairman and vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee said the official accounting of the committee's investigation basically confirms earlier reports by NBC News and others.
There are new facts. There are not significant departures from material that's been printed in the press or seen on television.
The original draft of the report, the one obtained by NBC News, contained a set of conclusions. One of those conclusions was that the president knew nothing about the diversion of funds to the Contras. Democrats on the committee objected vigorously. They said the evidence didn't support that conclusion. So finally, the conclusions were just simply left out of the report. Drawing conclusions will now be left up to the Senate and House committees and to the special prosecutor. John Dancy, NBC News, at the U.S. Capitol.
Secretary of State Schultz made it clear today that the United States would continue to press for the extradition of a suspect in the TWA hijacking case, despite the recent rash of hijackings in Lebanon and kidnappings. And he urged other governments not to succumb to pressure from terrorist kidnappers. Schultz also said that Iran was strongly linked to the group which kidnapped 3 Americans last weekend. At the same time in this country, 2 battalions of Marines at Camp Lejeune were put on alert today. The Pentagon called the alert routine, saying that it was ordered just in case they have to send the Marines somewhere in a hurry. This order went out as the United States stepped up its naval presence in the Mediterranean and also in the Persian Gulf. And it comes as a group calling itself the Islamic Jihad for the Liberation of Palestine issued still another photograph of an American captive. NBC's Sandy Gilmore has more tonight.
The group, which had not been heard of before, released a second photo of hostage Robert Paulhill, 2 submachine guns to his head. An accompanying statement said, the United States harbors the intention to attack Lebanon with the help of other Western nations. The organization declares it will execute the American hostages upon the occurrence of this aggression. The U.S. has dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to this part of the Mediterranean in case strategic interests are threatened, officials said. Maneuvers involving British aircraft on Cyprus have increased speculation that some kind of military action is pending, though the British strongly deny it. And observers point out that in the Beirut suburbs, where some hostages are believed held, or in the Brokaw Valley, where others are thought to be, surprise military action to rescue them would be virtually impossible in neighborhoods which are well guarded by Shiite militias and would almost certainly result in the killing of some or all of the hostages. Meantime, British officials remained concerned about Anglican Church representative Terry Waite, but suggested he probably was all right.
In my view, there is no evidence that suggests at the moment concretely that Terry Waite has been kidnapped.
Waite's brother said the family was praying for Terry.
He's not a man to duck the responsibilities that he has. He will do what he feels is right, whatever the cost and whatever the dangers.
Tonight, a French news agency reported Waite was seen Monday in the Brokaw Valley, but that could not be independently confirmed. There's still been no message from Waite himself, and he's been gone now for 9 days. Sandy Gilmore, NBC News, Cyprus.
And after months of silence, the White House today confirmed that President Reagan did sign a Bible that was sent secretly to officials in Iran. The White House called this an isolated, insignificant matter. The Bible was shown to reporters on Tuesday by the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament. Neither he nor the White House has said who delivered it to Tehran. But inside, it was a handwritten verse from Galatians and the signature of Ronald Reagan, dated October 3rd, 1986. Also coming up here tonight on NBC Nightly News, Gary Cutley will have a special segment report from inside Iran on how that country is dealing with one of the longest and bloodiest wars of the 20th century against Iraq. And David Burrington tonight on community reaction to television commercials for condoms, a growing controversy.
Condoms die by our cold life?
We asked 1,000 doctors if stranded in the wilderness, which would they want? Tylenol, extra-strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer? More doctors chose Bayer, nearly 2 to 1 over extra-strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Did you know the last time you starved yourself to lose fat, you might have lost muscle? Why? You didn't eat enough protein. Protein helps you keep the muscle while you lose fat. And that's what's special about Kellogg's Special K. It has the highest level of dietary protein of any cereal. So the under 200-calorie Special K breakfast may help you get the fat off and keep the muscle on. Special K. Keep the muscle, lose the fat.
You wouldn't pour ketchup on steak. Why pour it on a burger? Isn't that chopped steak? Try A1 steak sauce. It makes hamburgers taste like steak burgers. So don't cover it. Discover it with A1.
Troubled by bad breath? Then have a Milk-Bone dog biscuit to help scrape away plaque and food particles to give you cleaner teeth, fresher breath. Get Milk-Bone because, naturally, every dog wants fresher breath.
Here's the difference between wet air fresheners and Dry Breeze's air and fabric deodorizer. Wet air fresheners aren't meant for fabric. Dry Breeze's is dry. Its luxurious fragrance freshens the air without wet fallout on fabric and furniture. Dry Breeze's freshness without wetness.
Ferdinand Marcos, the ousted president of the Philippines, said today that he wants to return to his homeland and he would risk his life to do so. His wife, Imelda, certainly appeared ready to go back with him. But Marcos said the United States government would not let him leave his home in exile in Honolulu. Marcos was trying to leave just as rebel soldiers in Manila finally gave up their coup attempt. We have reports tonight from Charles Gomez in Honolulu and Steve Mallory in Manila. First, Gomez.
Marcos got the message last night from representatives of the U.S. Pacific Command and the State Department, and it wasn't what he wanted to hear.
I will be physically prevented from going aboard any plane that is going to the Philippines. I feel that now I am being treated like a prisoner.
A Boeing 707 jet had been waiting at the Honolulu airport since Monday, the first day of the coup attempt in the Philippines. This afternoon, the jet the Aquino government said was sent to transport Marcos from Honolulu to the Philippines flew back to the U.S. The jet is registered in the name of Miami-based Pan Aviation, owned by Sarkis Soganalian. He is a Lebanese arms dealer under indictment in Miami on charges of possessing unregistered machine guns and rocket launchers. It was Tomas Gomez, the Philippines Consul General in Hawaii, who told the State Department that Marcos was getting ready to flee.
When I found out that there was not much that I could do beyond this level of operations, I had to cry uncle, and I blew the whistle. I called up our embassy in Washington, D.C., briefing them on the situation.
3 days ago, Imelda Marcos went shopping at this military surplus store in Hawaii. She walked out with $2,000 worth of camouflage clothes, combat boots, and fur-lined jackets.
Think about it for a moment. She bought 2 of those jackets. You saw how heavy those were. What possible use would those be in a coup in the Philippines where it's hot? I mean, if she was planning a coup on the top of Mauna Kea in the middle of winter, that might be different, but not in the Philippines.
Marcos is in Hawaii at the invitation of President Reagan. If he left the country, he would lose his special immigration status. Marcos says he may still return to the Philippines, and he has told his supporters he'll be there as soon as he can. Charles Gomez, NBC News, Honolulu.
While Marcos was stopped in Hawaii, the rebels gave up in Manila. The mutineers were permitted to keep their weapons as they abandoned the television station that they had occupied for 3 days. From the beginning, they have denied being anti-Aquino, insisting they simply want to alert the government to what they claim is growing communist influence. Marcos supporters and some government troops cheered the rebels as they were bused to a military camp outside the capital. President Aquino made it clear today how she intends to deal with the plotters.
The Minister of Defense, pursuant to my order, shall proceed against the rebel military officers in accordance with the Manual of Courts Martial.
Though the attempted coup was over, problems with the military were not. There is still a rift between the government and the military. The Armed Forces Chief of Staff.
Talking about prosecution or court-martial, that is still something that must be decided.
This was the second coup attempt in 11 months. To many, it underscores the fragility of the country's leadership. These developments come at a time when the Aquino government is looking for a vote of confidence. Next week, Filipinos vote on a new constitution. President Aquino needs a landslide to convince the military that the people endorse her policies. This week, President Aquino has weathered mass demonstrations from the left, a coup attempt from the right. Though she has survived both, questions have once again been raised about her leadership. Steve Mallory, NBC News, Manila.
Canon's new personal copiers come in 4 colors and copy in 5.
Red's your color.
And this replaceable cartridge makes them simple, even for you.
Lighten up, Jack.
They are light. Here.
What a guy.
For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-Canon.
If you're like most people, you probably think you're getting enough fiber in your diet. Know what? You're probably not. In fact, the National Cancer Institute says we're probably getting only half the fiber we need. So I'm getting the half I'm missing with this Fiber One cereal.
Shredded wheat can't give you half. Even All Bran doesn't have as much fiber as Fiber One.
One bowl, once a day.
For the half you're missing.
Right. Fiber One. For the half you're missing.
Today you have a choice in the way your coffee is decaffeinated. Some brands use chemicals like methylene chloride or ethyl acetate. But Taster's Choice does it naturally, using no chemicals. Just pure water and oil from the coffee bean itself. So when you choose Taster's Choice naturally decaffeinated coffee, you get pure, rich-tasting coffee. And absolutely nothing else.
Now, for a limited time, Ford announces 3.9 annual percentage rate financing or $500 cash back on all new Ford Ranger pickups. And 3.9 financing or $600 cash back on all new Ford Bronco 2s, Ranger or Bronco 2, both built fun tough by Ford.
That controversy over condom ads on television has moved into a new phase now. For years, the broadcast industry in this country has kept them off the air, but that's changing. One reason is that some experts say that condoms can save lives by preventing the spread of AIDS. Now, as NBC's David Burrington reports, a few stations around the country have begun showing condom ads with mixed results.
Last night, television station WDIV in Detroit rolled a tape and became the latest in a trend to run condom ads, shattering one of television's strictest taboos.
I'll do a lot for love, but I'm not ready to die for it.
The emphasis is on AIDS prevention. Another Detroit station, WXYZ, was the first to run one of the ads,
WXYZ,
and the reaction has been negative. In spite of that, the station will continue to run the commercials.
the complainants were really voicing one worry, and that is that by telling people about condoms, we would increase sexual activity and promiscuity.
In Indianapolis, the issue is extremely touchy. WRTV announced it would run the ads this week, then didn't, because its owner, McGraw-Hill, objected. Now the station says it'll only run ads approved by a local panel. In all, stations in 11 markets have agreed to run the ads. 8 of those are part of the Knight Ridder chain. Other groups and at least 60 individual stations have shown interest. In San Francisco, the city with the highest per capita incidence of AIDS, KRON is running the ads, and the reaction is mostly favorable. The station is donating its $25,000 commercial fee to AIDS research, and the condom company is matching that.
Use it in good health.
But some churches, and especially the Catholic Church, still oppose the ads.
It's not a proper forum. We believe that human sexuality is something that can't be talked about adequately in a 30-second spot.
Spokesman for the 3 television networks said today they are still against accepting condom ads because they feel they're inappropriate for family audiences. Whether the networks eventually approve or not, the TV ban on condom ads is broken, and manufacturers expect sales to increase dramatically, mainly from heterosexuals afraid of AIDS. David Burrington, NBC News, San Francisco.
President Reagan told congressional leaders today that he will veto the bill calling for an 8-year cleanup of the nation's water supply at a cost of $18 billion. The president called it a budget buster. But Democratic leaders say that they are confident that the veto will be overridden.
My job is selling computers, and it's getting more competitive every day. That's why I take good care of myself. If a headache slows me down, the pain reliever I rely on is Tylenol. I was first given Tylenol in the hospital after a football injury. It worked then, and it still does. And you know, Tylenol is the pain reliever hospitals use most. Well, if hospitals trust Tylenol, I can believe in it too.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
I've been taking Metamucil goodness knows how long. It works, but it's gritty.
Now there's great-tasting Citrucel. Let's compare. Both have fiber for regularity, but Metamucil is gritty, so it won't all go through the strainer. Citrucel mixes completely. Its special fiber pours right through. And Citrucel's every bit as effective as Metamucil. Citrucel. Great taste, no grit.
Heart disease, virtually unknown among the Eskimos of Greenland. Why? Studies revealed oily fish in their diet helped reduce buildup of fatty deposits in their arteries. If you're not eating enough of these fish, you can now get the highest natural concentration of their oils in new Promega from Park Davis. Add Promega to your dietary plan that reduces total fats and substitutes polyunsaturates and help reduce your risk of heart disease.
On special segment tonight, Iran at war. The bloody 6-year conflict with Iraq rages on, and the cost in lives is staggering. In the last month alone, an estimated 30,000 Iraqis and Iranians have died in that war. From Tehran tonight, NBC's chief foreign correspondent, Garrett Utley, reports on Iran's war effort on a day when foreign journalists were told to leave following Iraqi air raids.
a call to prayer, a prayer for the dead in the war with Iraq, the martyrs of Islam. This service was for 7 martyrs, 3 of them of this man's family, 2 sons and a son-in-law. They and he fought as a family. To understand Iran today, just listen. It is estimated that as many as 500,000 Iranians have died in the war. The cemetery is home for Iran's lost generation. Call it bravery, call it fanaticism. Iran's leaders have succeeded in turning religious fervor into war fever. They reject a negotiated settlement with Iraq. They want vengeance. They want to spread their brand of Islam. And they have shown that to do it, they are prepared to let their country bleed. And the people follow, driven by the religious belief that martyrdom on the battlefield leads to heaven.
Martyrs, they don't die, and they just, their life style just changed. They are still alive, and then they will be going to heaven, that's all.
Iranians are constantly shown the war close up. Iraq started it 6 years ago. They underestimated the Iranians. Led by the Revolutionary Guards who accept martyrdom, the Iranians have advanced to the edge of Basra, the 2nd largest city in Iraq, but there is no victory in sight. The carnage and the tactics are a throwback to World War I. This is a war fought in trenches, of gas masks to protect against chemical weapons. It is a war of artillery duels across a no-man's land whose only value is as a military prize. And now the war is spreading behind the front lines. This videotape shows the result of an Iraqi air raid against the city of Bruges. A bomb hit a school for mentally retarded children. 78 of them died. Tehran itself has not escaped the war. Iraqi air attacks have caused power cuts. There is rationing. Vast building projects begun by the Shah remain unfinished 8 years after the revolution. No open opposition to Iran's religious leaders is tolerated, but sometimes you can hear dissent if you listen between the lines.
And people just see each other and talk about the situation. They can't say anything they want to.
But dissent has been drowned out by the fervor and the fever. Ayatollah Khomeini is frailer now, but his hold over his country and his people has not weakened. Indeed, by proclaiming the war to be a jihad or holy war, he has further legitimized rule by religious dogma. And so the war continues. And so do the funerals. At Tehran's main cemetery, 2 more martyrs are buried. Brothers, sons. Neither faith nor veils can hide the pain. But there is no shortage of men ready to take their place. In the cemetery is a fountain. Its water dyed red to commemorate the blood shed by the martyrs, to glorify it. As a symbol of Iran today, it is appropriate. Garrick Utley, NBC News, Tehran.
And of course, just today, Secretary of State Schultz linked Iran strongly to terrorism, including the taking of American hostages in Lebanon. In his commentary tonight, John Chancellor looks at what might have been done to prevent this terrorism. John?
Tom? A few years ago, we were putting up yellow ribbons and driving in the daytime with the headlights on, showing sympathy for the hostages in Iran. The new attitude toward American hostages in Lebanon is quite different. Some people are saying it's their own fault that they've been taken hostage. They wanted to be there. The White House is saying there are limits on what the American government can do for hostages, and that Americans in Lebanon who ignored previous warnings clearly did so at their own risk. Talk about a new mood. Call it the new realism. But if it's going to succeed, it needs to look again at the basic problems of the Middle East, which include not only the Palestinians, but also the threat of militant Islamic fundamentalism. Terrorism has its roots in politics and, to some degree, in religion. As long as there's no peace in the Middle East, there will be terrorism. But for the last 6 years, the United States and its European allies have done practically nothing to keep the peace process moving. Nobody knows how much money was spent trading arms for hostages, but it didn't work. If an equal amount of money and effort had been used a few years ago to organize a true international effort to reconcile the differences between Israel and its neighbors, to end the war between Iran and Iraq, there might be fewer hostages today, maybe none at all. Instead, some Western countries dealt with terrorists and ignored the problem that produced terrorism. The Camp David Accords produced peace between Israel and Egypt. Since then, there's been nothing but drift. Unless the new realism deals with the basic unresolved problems, the hostage-taking will only continue.
Never seen a Bonneville that sporty before. How's it drive?
Let me tell you.
We built a sleek, lean new driving machine. New Bonneville. We build excitement. Bonneville. Pontiac.
Pour it on Quaker fruit and cream. Stir it up, Quaker fruit and cream. What a taste, what a dream. The cream of the crop, Quaker fruit and cream.
Quaker introduces fruit and cream instant oatmeals, bananas and cream, blueberries and cream, peaches and cream, and strawberries and cream. 4 rich, smooth tastes you won't find in any other cereal.
The cream of the crop, Quaker fruit and cream. Instant oatmeal, Quaker fruit and cream.
Your sink's clogged.
What'll we do?
Get the all-purpose drain opener, Crystal Drano. Works on hair, food, and grease. Liquid plumber may not work on some clogs.
Wow.
There's also Liquid Drano. Remember, the one name to know is Drano.
Extra strength bufferin for Steve's backache, Kim's legs, John's shoulder, Debbie's headache. It goes to where you hurt fast with an extra strength dose of pain relief for headaches and a lot more. Extra strength bufferin, also in regular strength.
Hey, chicken, how you feeling? Look, I brought you something to make you feel better. It's a great get-well gift from FTD. Comes in this reusable chicken soup bowl. Oops. Send the FTD chicken soup bowl bouquet.
For more than 21 years now, the name Gilbert Milstein has appeared in the credits for this program, first as a writer, then as a news editor. Those were always such inadequate descriptions of his role, writer and news editor. Throughout all of the changes in the last 2 decades, after all, Gil has been our constant guardian of the language and keeper of the facts. There isn't a man or a woman in this organization who has not been snapped back into line by his impatience with error of fact or grammar. Our staff historian, especially about the dark and funny side of New York City. Author, he wrote 2 hilarious novels. And even though this dedicated man has all the markings of a kindly Mr. Chips, appearances can deceive. He's a tyrant when protecting the traditional values of the craft to which he has dedicated his life, journalism. When we have failed to meet his standards, we have failed you. When we have succeeded, he deserves so much of the credit. And he despises mawkish behavior. But I do have the authority of my colleagues to tell you tonight, we love him. And since on his final night before retirement, I wouldn't let him review these words, I can also tell you, it ain't going to be the same without him around here. That's Nightly News for this Thursday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
The Iowa Hawkeyes, ranked #2 in the nation after their first loss of the season, head to East Lansing, Michigan for what should be a tough confrontation with Michigan State. The Spartans are led by senior guard Darrell Johnson, currently 3rd in the Big Ten in individual scoring. Iowa looks to bounce back into the win column when they meet Michigan State this Thursday at 7 p.m. here on WHO TV 13.
Coming up next from News Center 13.
An ice cream scare sends shoppers back to grocery stores with potentially tainted ice cream. We'll have 2 reports.
Small-town banks struggle to make it through yet another winter.
Plus, an artist who hasn't let a handicap keep him down. Diane Roberts has that report.
Mike's forecast and Jeff's sports all coming up next from News Center 13.
When you go to Lens Crafters, you don't have to make 2 trips to get your glasses because Lens Crafters can custom grind your exact prescription in about an hour. Listen.
It usually took me 2 weeks to get my glasses before.
It took me about an hour for both pair.
20 minutes to get my exam, about 45 to pick out the frames that I wanted, and it was less than an hour to get my glasses.
Oh, they're perfect. Couldn't ask for better.
Why make 2 trips? Lens Crafters, quality eyeglasses in about an hour.
Now in Merle Hay Mall.
We've added something to Oscal, the calcium supplement doctors have recommended for over 35 years. You may wonder what we could add, since Oscal is the brand doctors recommend 10 to 1 over the closest competitor. Well, we've added a chewable to the Oscal family. Delicious Bavarian cream flavor to take every day. Couldn't wait, huh? Oscal 500 chewable. Doctors recommend our calcium.